Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. And I want to start out by thanking the Speaker of the Assembly, Fabian Nunez, and also the Republican leader, Mike Valines, for joining me in this very important bill. Members, I did not want to bring this bill forward. This bill is, in my opinion, a very important bill to right a wrong. And when I was approached about AB 1735 about a month ago, by the two members, two raw milk producers, and was informed that there was opposition to the legislation we passed, and that going back and meeting with members of CDFA, including the secretary of CDFA, and was asked point blank why the opposition and the analysis was not included. And knowing that raw milk and the issue of raw milk and regulating raw milk is very controversial, why wouldn't that have been in the analysis that CDFA gave to the Ag Committee consultants? And there really wasn't a clear answer. It was omitted. People in the department knew this was a controversial issue. For over a decade, there have been many instances of trying to deal with the issue of raw milk. Other states have had regulations dealing with raw milk, but for a state agency members, state agencies that this committee relied on, one state agency that we rely on, one of the things that as a chair of this committee I appreciate is how Republicans and Democrats in this committee work very well together. And when that trust is tainted, and that trust by a department to put a bill through, and it was brought as a committee bill, we all signed on to that bill, trusting the state agency that brought the bill to our attention. Now, members, this wasn't a state agency-sponsored bill, because they would have to have approval from the governor's office. They didn't seek approval from the governor's office, so they made it and asked that it be a committee bill. I regret standing here before you, not grilling my staff and CDFA more. And I take full responsibility, members. I'm not proud of that fact, but I'm here trying to fix a wrong. I trusted staff, I trusted CDFA, and they omitted, and in my opinion, purposely omitted that there would be opposition. And standing behind me in the crowd are people who would be affected, two raw milk producers in the state, members. How hard would it have been to phone them, to be able to bring them in the process? Not very hard, in my opinion. So, members, what can we do? This bill, yes, it moved through the legislative process. It moved from the Assembly floor to the Senate floor to the governor's office, and the governor signed the bill. Remember, members, because it was a committee bill and it moved on consent, it was never again debated. It was never, when we voted for it on the Assembly floor, we voted for the consent agenda, which included a number of bills that were non-controversial with no opposition. So we find out, when I sent out an email reporting some Ag Committee bills, that this bill moved forward. Now, I'm not going to stand here and say that the 10 milliliter coliform limit is good or bad. I'm not here to say maybe it should be 20, maybe it should be 5. We never got that opportunity to debate the policy. We never got the opportunity of CDFA and the researchers, and for those who believe, and all the scientists who believe that drinking raw milk is especially concerning to small children or seniors. Members, in this committee, we never got the opportunity to ask the questions, to talk about the process, to ask questions from the raw milk producers about their farm practices. I bet many of you didn't know, before I mentioned this the last couple weeks, that there were 2 raw milk producers in the state of California, that there were 40,000 consumers of raw milk. At the end of the day, I don't have a dog in this fight, members. The constituents, the raw milk producers, don't live in my district. I've never had raw milk. I've never, working with the consultants on this case, I've never worked with Capital Strategies before. This is a bill that is brought to you, members, because it is the right thing to do. Many members have concerns because you may be repealing a food safety bill, And we heard from other members last year on bills regarding E. coli. And this committee held many of those bills because we said government has a role, but we shouldn't mandate and fine farmers for trying to make a living and trying to do the best that they can do. We need to have some oversight. But we let the member of that committee, the senator, present his bill in this committee. He had a day in court. The folks, the raw milk producers, were not afforded that opportunity. They didn't get that day in court. This will be an act, members, of courage. You will face reporters. You will face constituents who will question, why did you repeal a food safety item? A food safety, you lowered the standards. The milk industry is concerned. You will hear people and scientists coming forward and saying, the reason why we wanted this limit is to protect the consumers. And that's great, members. But again, we have to right this wrong. Let's repeal this bill. Let CDFA or any of you bring back the bill. You can bring it next year. You can bring it, we can find a bill to gut and amend, and we can bring the bill back if we choose to and have a hearing on the bill. That's fine, and I will hear that bill. But members, we need to send a signal to any state agency, any staff, especially in a term-limited world where, you know what, we may not know all the answers. We may not know all the questions to ask. And is that the fault of those who are trying to do business in California? What kind of message do we send when those who may be impacted by a bill that we send do not have the opportunity to voice their opinion? That is unjust and it's undemocratic. So I ask you, members, be courageous, take this vote. Let's repeal this on an urgency. Talk to your constituents, talk to the reporters. This isn't about you wanting to lower food safety. Sure, technically it is. Technically, you have to vote for 1604, which says we're going to remove that sentence from 1735. But I bet when you go home tonight and you're able to sleep because you did the right thing, you were the voice for those two people who may be impacted. We don't even know. Can they meet the 10 standard? Can they not? But all we knew is we passed a bill, members, that impacted 2 people in California, and that is not right. So members, I ask for your vote. This bill is very important to me. It's not because I'm a raw milk, 100% behind raw milk. I want to learn more about it. I want to learn more about the product. Shoot, I want to drink a glass, right? So no clapping, sorry. So let's, please, members, this is a bill about process. Do not let people, if you vote for this bill, members, twist this around, that you care less about food safety, or the people who may be running against you in the future are going to have that mailer saying you voted against food safety. This is the right thing to do, and I'm very proud to have the Republican leader say a few words on this issue too. So members, thank you very much.